Hello, welcome back to my channel. It is the 28th. It is also Sunday night going into Monday. So 28th is Monday here. But it's Sunday night. So I'm only a couple days late for posting on Friday. Anyway, it was a nice idea. But I am posting before the end of the month, and I'll do another video at the end of the month wrapping up. So this is just going to be a quick little video talking about the books I've read this week. And I will put some more of my arcs from NetGalley in the description of this video. So by the end of the month, I will have all the chunks of NetGalley arcs that I have in my queue in descriptions of my videos. So if you want to know what I have on NetGalley, if you want to get some similar arcs and read them with me, then you have my list of my NetGalley arcs. And actually, it's kind of a fun list because I have a ton of books. I read a ton of books. I have a ton of books. And it would be really hard to show all my books. I've seen people do huge videos where they go through their entire library. There was one that was 6 hours long, and they were literally just showing books for 6 hours. And I think my library is bigger than hers. So, yeah, not as well organized, but more books. And one of these days, if I have the equipment sometime, I don't have filming equipment to do anything really like a filmed book organization project. I thought about it. It might happen eventually. Maybe next year. By then, maybe I'll have the equipment. But my NetGalley is kind of a microcosm of my reading tastes. I go out on a limb occasionally, but most of the books that I request off NetGalley or select from Read It Now and NetGalley are very similar in type to the books I have in my collection. So if you want to get a sense of my reading tastes and my reading range, my NetGalley is a good sample. There are obviously books I don't have in print yet, but I get a pretty decent number of books from NetGalley that rank at 4 or 5 stars. So I do pretty well at recognizing the books in NetGalley that I would like. So yeah, it's a pretty good snapshot of what I like to read. So yeah, if my tastes and your tastes are similar, then there's a very good chance that the books I read might be of interest. Which is always part of the whole point of BookTube is, find people with similar reading tastes and interests, see what they're reading, get ideas for what you might want to read. That's what I do. So this week has been almost entirely arcs. I've been reading physical books. I can show you my stack of physical books that I've been reading. But finishing, different story. These are the books that are unfinished that I'm working on. Some of them are leftovers from previous months even. So there's a lot of books there. I think a couple of them on this stack I haven't officially started, but I mean to. I don't know. We'll see if that happens. But I'll update on what I carry over at the end of the month. And by carryover, I mean that they're unfinished, not that I get to read them next month necessarily. But, I could reward myself with finishing off one of the leftover books if I finish, I don't know, some reasonable portion of my actual TBR. We'll see. But I am hoping to finish a bunch of these. A lot of them I'm not far from done with. So I might have a flurry of finished books in the next 3 days. Could happen. Actually, it does happen a lot. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah. So I've been doing mostly arcs this week. I started with The Granddaughter by Bernhard Schlink. This is a book translated from the German. It is set in post-unified Germany, and deals with unification. And what do you do if you have someone you care about who is radical right extremist? And, brainwashed radical right extremist. That's their worldview and always has been. So it's an interesting problem and something that a lot of us can relate to, even if the parties are a little different or the details are different. So I really like this one. It's very timely, well done. The translation is good. I didn't feel like I was reading German turned into bad English. So it was good. And I will be trying to read some more Bernhard Schlink. I have The Weekend by him, which I think is a novella. It seems shorter anyway, maybe 200 pages, so short novel. And then he also wrote one that is on book lists, which I will talk about later. The Reader? That sounds right. The Reader. That's on the Boxall list, because Schlink does show up on the Boxall list. So I finished that one. I finished In Shittification by Cory Doctorow, which I've been recommending to everybody because that's the one that's about why our technology and our internet and everything is so bad. Like, it's been decades. Surely the technology should be top notch. The basics, what I can afford, should still work. I mean, I don't need the kind of streaming service that I can run fancy games with or anything. I'm only ever doing basic stuff. This is about as complicated as it gets. So why is it that basic internet can barely keep up half the time? Stuff like that. And there are reasons, and they're in this book. And it's very frustrating, very annoying, and the sort of thing that you feel like you want to push back on. And you get some glimmer of an idea of how you could push back while reading his book. But his actual advice is frustratingly impractical for everyday, ordinary people every day. Maybe if you're trying to influence policy and you're in a position to do so, it's great. But otherwise, if you're not in a position where you are setting or influencing policymakers to make tech policy or business policy, that's where the weakness is in this book. But one book can't do it all. It still covers why we are at this point, how we got here, and what's going on. So I do recommend it. And I also recommend Picks and Shovels, which is Doctorow's other new book that came out this year, and I think a couple months ago. Yeah. But I finished that arc as well this month. last week, I think. Yeah, and that one's fiction and really covers similar ideas to some of what he talks about in Shittification. And then I read My Documents by Kevin Nguyen. Did I get it right? I've had several people pronounce this name since I tried in my last video. Nguyen, I think, is what they said. So we'll go with it. Which means some of my friends in school were not pronouncing it correctly, if that's how you pronounce that name. So, yeah. Names are fun. So, this book is set in a near future in which there's been terrorist attacks by Vietnamese people that may or may not have any connection to Vietnam or any other Vietnamese people. They may just be a bunch of Vietnamese friends that do a terrorist attack. But before any investigation even begins, everybody reacts very quickly to set up systems to isolate Vietnamese people from the rest of U.S. society, which turns into internment camps very much modeled off of Japanese internment camps from World War II and off of the migrant camps, which is mentioned. This book, of course, when it was being written, what's going on now in the U.S. hadn't developed to this point. So the fact that that was even mentioned was kind of impressive, actually. And, mentioned in such a way that it might be considered, a precursor, earlier instance of this kind of behavior. The Vietnamese Americans get put into camps. They lose all their stuff, and we're basically following some people who are stuck in one of these camps. And then some people that, for various reasons, get exemptions and are outside the camps but are still Vietnamese, and living with what it's like being someone that's this pariah class in the United States during this time. It's a really good book. It deals with the surveillance state, and I saw echoes of Frantz Fanon and how surveillance happens, and Foucault, Discipline and Punish by Foucault. I'm pretty sure that the author has read both Foucault and Fanon, at least they're well-known books. Really good book. I've seen people mentioning this as a possible prize list book, and I definitely agree. It's definitely one that deserves to be on long lists. And I would say, actually, the Granddaughter by Schlink is also a top quality book that I could see it being on prize lists. So we've had some really good ones, actually, that could be on prize lists. We had The Antidote that I talked about earlier, that was really good, by Karen Russell. And then we have The Colony by Annika Norlin. This book is a translation. So the original book came out in 2023 in Swedish and has been translated into English. The translation comes out this year, or came out this year. So this one would be eligible for prizes where the translation's publication date is what puts it on the prize list. And there are several where that works. So I am anticipating seeing The Colony show up on prize lists. Apparently it did really well in Sweden. So it is a significant new release in Sweden, which does help its chances at being noticed by prize committees. So I'm not doing prediction videos yet because I'm still getting an idea of which prizes I would even try to predict, and how many books they long list and short list and all that stuff, and their dates that they do everything. I'm new to the game, but I definitely think some of these will be at least considered nominated, whether they make it on the long list or not. So the arcs that I've read this month that I would expect to show up on lists, or at least that I could see them ending up on lists. We Lived on the Horizon, which is sci-fi and kind of literary sci-fi, by Erica Swyler. We had The Listeners by Maggie Stiefvater. Let's see, other 5 stars. I liked Galway's Edge by Ken Bruin, but it's just a crime fiction, and not an outstanding one. It's just good. I liked other books in that series better. That's the Jack Taylor series by Ken Bruin. The Burning Heart of the World by Nancy Krikorian was good. 4 stars for me, but it was a decent literary fiction book. I could see it being on prize lists. It wasn't my favorite for the month, but it was good. The Third Rule of Time Travel was really good. I expect to see that showing up places. And the sci-fi books, I haven't really looked at the long lists and everything for the Hugo and Nebula and like the sci-fi awards very much, as far as what gets on the long list, and one of these days I need to look at it more closely. But those are 2 really good sci-fis that came out this year that I really enjoyed. And Nesting has already been talked about. It came out in January, so it is eligible for prizes, for this round of prizes. Picks and Shovels by Dr. O. I don't think it's a prize list quality novel. It was good though. Antidote by Karen Russell was really good, 5 stars. Literary fiction, magical realism, really cool, lots of stuff in it. Then The Granddaughter, My Documents, and The Colony. So I think if I was going to make a prediction video out of what I've read recently, there we go. That's actually a pretty decent number of books for a prediction. But I don't know what I'm predicting for, because I don't actually remember the dates for the Booker anyway, and I think that's what everyone's doing. So, meh. I'm not doing prediction videos yet anyway, but if I was, there's a list. They're good books. Read them. They're really good. Especially if you like literary fiction. I know that was a lot of literary fiction. Sci-fi was also something I focused on, though, this month. In addition to the arcs, I did finish one that was not an arc. It was still an electronic book, so it was an audiobook. I finished Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which was really good. Survival on an alien planet. So it's that kind. They basically crash land on an alien planet and have to figure out how to survive there. And they have quite a lot going against them, including lack of breathable air and all sorts of other fun stuff. So it's quite an intense survival scenario. The Martian, if you've read or listened to or watched that, think about how hostile that environment is for someone trying to live with just what they have with them. Similar sort of story, but with aliens on a truly, truly alien planet. So I really enjoyed that one. And then I DNF'd a book. Yes, I actually DNF books occasionally. This one, I wanted to like it. I love the title. How to Forget to Remember to Forget About Magic by somebody. I found it really gimmicky. A lot gimmicky, actually. In a not so nice way that I didn't ever really click with. The who the author is part is the beginning of the gimmickiness. The author listed on the NetGalley arc, the author listed on the Goodreads page, they're not the same author. And I think Storygraph, it's also not the same author. And one of them, I think, actually does peg the actual person or persons that wrote this book. But I want to know just some basics when I read a book. Who is this book by? If I like it, who is the author so I can go find more? If I didn't like it, you get the point. So that's annoying. And it's like the How to Train Your Dragon books, and these books are by so-and-so. But those were good, and it was consistent, and it wasn't too complicated. This one's just complicated. The ebook version of this book was 1,016 pages at a readable font. And that's with my reading glasses. I have reading glasses now. And it was still 1,016 pages. The Goodreads page count listed at 900 and some pages. I don't remember if I was looking at the same edition, but that's still long. That's really long. Okay. And it's all in kind of first person from the perspective of this main character dude. And I say all. I DNF'd at about 250 pages in. It may change. It may get better. I have better things to do with my time because I was struggling to get through 250 pages. But as far as I got, it was all from the main character's perspective. And so it's a very limited perspective most of the time. Every once in a while it throws out information that he couldn't possibly know, or that maybe he's talking from the future, like, relating the story about the past from his future or something. There are books that do that. So, okay, that's great, but it's not consistent. So it's not clear how some of the information is there. He turns into a crystal or gets absorbed by a crystal, and then his perspective is really weird. It could have been done well. There's potential. I could see how someone with the writing skills of like Adrian Tchaikovsky probably could massage this book into some sort of really good shape. There's good ideas, but the bones have all gotten mixed up, so it does not have good bones. It's like the bones might have been good, and then they got thrown into a tumbler and spat out the other end. Anyway, grumble, grumble, grumble. I did not finish it. I tried to get to 51% so that I could count it for stuff. Not worth it. So that was that, and I'm cool with it. I haven't DNF'd very many books this year, so that one I did enough to be able to say, here's why I'm not finishing this book and why I don't recommend it. And I don't know anyone for whom it would be uniquely good for them. Maybe one of my sisters, because she likes tedious books. But she likes tedious books that make sense and that hang together. And I'm not sure this one does. So, anyway. She likes Moby Dick, which is a really tedious book. But it hangs together. It just has lots of tangents. And the action scene takes like half a page. After several hundred, like 600 pages, you finally get the action scene. Yeah, very frustrating. Anyway, so that's been kind of my reading week. I've been whittling away at my huge stack of books, but I haven't finished the print books. And I've been working at the bookstore. I've been getting my history area all organized. I've been having fun micro-organizing it into themes and all, but I'm making myself step back and leave it as it is, because we have the half-off sale in about 2 weeks. And so I've got it overstocked right now, so it's absolutely crammed to the gills with books. And I'm going to keep it full so that there's plenty of books available for the half-off sale. And then after the sale, I can organize the books, because then I'll know what I have left over. So some of that is a waste of time if I'm just going to have to do it again after the sale. So I should be getting a little bit more focus on reading this week. I do have one new kitten. She's glaring at me for talking and keeping her up. She's not really handleable yet. She doesn't feel so good, but she's starting to feel better. She's like really bony when I got her. So I've been using, it's called AD wet food. It's like emergency food for cats and kittens like this, that they've been hungry for long enough that they're bony and, you know, kind of on the path to starvation. Poor little girl. She's on antibiotics, and she's getting special food that I'm hand feeding her every like 3 or 4 hours. So she's already looking a lot better. So I think she'll be on a normal diet by probably tomorrow. So she should be fine. Right now she's still not thrilled, but I think she's feeling enough better that she likes me a little bit. Maybe, I hope. I'm calling her Dahlia, and she is a Torby, which means she is a brown tabby with orange splotches. So she has an orange splotch that's like in the center of her forehead. So she's very cute. Hopefully she'll become handleable. Otherwise, maybe I can get a still picture of her and use it as a thumbnail or something. But yeah. So I have a new kitten, and I still have Vinny, who was around my feet. I don't know where Vinny is. There he is. Hold on. Let me grab Vinny, because he's cute. Alright, here Vinny. Here Vinny, to Vinny. Hi. Yeah. Yep. And Vinny and the new kitten are cousins. So he doesn't have to be in total quarantine from her, because they all actually have the same germs. Yeah, do you have the same germs? He said, I don't have germs anymore. I'm a healthy cat. He does have his fur growing back in and all the spots. Mwah. Yeah, his fur all growing in, so his nose is not so pink anymore. His eye is no longer goopy. And he should be ready to go and be adopted in about a week, is my guess. So we'll have him a little bit longer. Yes. And he's getting lots of parenting from my cats. Things like don't chew on my tail, and if you jump on me again, I'm going to swat you, and important cat lessons that only a cat can teach another cat. So he should have much better manners by the time he goes to the shelter. Huh. Yeah, you're so cute. Okay, so I'm going to sign off. You will probably see this tomorrow relative to when I'm talking right now, because I'm going to do the NetGalley list. Probably the ones that are going to come out in September, or at least the ones that are going to archive in September. Maybe September, October. I'll see how many there are. And then I will do the rest of my NetGalley arc list on my wrap-up for the month. Say goodbye, Vinny. Goodbye, Vinny. Yes. You may not sit on the keyboard. You still may not sit on the keyboard. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.